So let's talk about the organisational hierarchy of organisms and stem cells. So there's a number of syllabus objectives here, two related to stem cells and then this one about the hierarchical organisation. So let's get into it. With unicellular organisms, all processes within that organism occur within that one cell. It might be prokaryotic and everything occurs in the cytoplasm. It might be a eukaryote where it's got specialised organelles, but even still it's all within that one cell. But with a multicellular organism, we have specialised cells that work together with specialised tissue that form specialised organs that all perform specialised functions and all work together to maintain all those life processes with that multicellular organism. And with our multicellular organisms, we can talk about a hierarchical organisation which starts with cells, and we have specialised cells that work together as specialised tissue, and that tissue then forms organs that have a specific role. Organs work together to form an organ system, and ultimately we have an organism. So what happens is that we have a hierarchy that moves towards increasing complexity. So this hierarchical organisation allows organisms to be able to obtain nutrients through the digestive system, exchange gas through the respiratory system, and also remove waste through the excretory systems. So here's an example here, and this is the digestive system. So here we can see we have cells that form tissue, epithelial tissue, which then works together to form the actual organ of the small intestine, and that small intestine is just parts, one organ in the digestive system. So it's hierarchical, where we go from cells all the way to the organism, and we step through in terms of increasing complexity. So we start with specialised cells, and then a collection of different cells grouped together that to perform a specific function we call tissue. And then a number of different tissues grouped together to perform a specific function we call an organ. And then when we have organs, different organs that are grouped together to perform a function, like the esophagus and the stomach and the small intestine and the large intestine, that's what we call an organ system. And then ultimately, we then have the organism. Okay, so that's the hierarchical organisation, and it goes from simple to more complex as we go. So here's just an example here, and this is the part of the respiratory system involved in gas exchange. So we have specialised epithelial cells here that form the alveolus, and then so that's the tissue, and then it forms into the specific organ of the lung, and then of course it's included with the trachea and the diaphragm and things, and the pharynx to be the respiratory system. But then, as you can see, it works closely with the circulatory system as well, with the blood vessels to be able to exchange that gas. So those organ systems work together to ultimately provide gas exchange for the whole organism. And we can see the same thing with the removal of waste as well. The kidney excretes waste in the urine, but so we have specific epithelial tissue that that forms the nephrons, that forms that filtration system, and then together that forms the kidney as an organ, but then it works closely with the circulatory system as well. So with multicellular organisms, we have specialised cells that form specialised tissue. So they have different structures because they have different functions. Now, so how does an organism develop all of these different types of cells? Well, it all starts here with the stem cell. Stem cells are undifferentiated cells, and they have the potential to develop into specialised cells with specialised structure and specialised function. There's two key characteristics that stem cells have. Firstly, they have the ability to be able to self-renew. And so that means that they're able to replicate without differentiation, but then they also have this ability to be able to specialize, and we call that differentiation. So develop into these specialized cells, develop into sex cells, develop into muscle cells, bone cells, etc. So stem cells have the ability to be able to self-renew, okay, replicate without differentiation, but they also have this ability to differentiate. So these are the definitions here. Self-renewal is the ability to be able to create more stem cells, and they do that through a process of mitosis. And potency is the other characteristic, which is the ability to give rise to more specialized cells, the ability to differentiate. So just briefly in terms of mitosis, there's another video about mitosis, but remember, mitosis is the process of cell division that produces identical daughter cells. So stem cells are able to divide through mitosis to develop more identical stem cells, and they can do that multiple times. But just as a reminder, mitosis is the process of cell division, and it's got these steps, PMAT, and in prophase, remember we have the chromosomes condense, the nuclear membrane breaks down. In metaphase, we have those chromosomes that line up along the metaphase plate. And then in anaphase, we see the sister chromatids being pulled apart to the opposite poles. The telophase is when we get the nuclear membranes to reform, and in cytokinesis, we actually get the division of the cytoplasm completing the formation of two new cells. So that's mitosis, and that's the process of cell division to produce two identical daughter cells. Stem cells have the ability to be able to do that and make more and more stem cells without differentiation. So this process, or this ability to be able to differentiate, is called potency. And we have a number of different levels of potency. Totipotent is a stem cell that can potentially produce every type of organism, every type of cell in an organism, and also the cells of the placenta. So it's totipotent, totally potent, can produce all of the cells of the organism plus the placenta. So there's only one cell that's able to do that, and that's the zygote. So it's that first cell, the fertilized egg, if you like. It's that is able to produce cells to make the placenta and also every cell in the organism. Whereas the embryo is pluripotent. It's able to produce all differentiated cells within the organism, but the only difference is it can't produce the placenta. So our embryonic stem cells are able to produce every single cell in the body. Once a baby is actually born, the potency significantly decreases. There is still stem cells that do have potency, but much more limited. So we have multipotent stem cells, which can develop into a single closely related family of cells. And a good example of that is in the bone marrow. The stem cells in the bone marrow are able to produce all of the different type of blood cells. And also we have unipotent stem cells, which can just produce one type of cell. For example, muscle stem cells. So these are really helpful for repair, but they're not helpful for actually developing a fetus or an embryo into a fetus. So, as I said, this is a nice little summary here. The zygote is totipotent, and then at the embryo stage, at this stage, it is pluripotent. Now, and the adult stem cells, now we call them adult even though it includes the fetus, so the unborn baby after the embryonic phase, plus the baby and throughout life. We call those adult stem cells, and they're the ones that are either multipotent or unipotent. Okay, multipotent ones are like the red blood, the bone marrow stem cells, and the unipotent ones are just, are able to just to make one type of cell at that location that they are. Okay, so what is that stimulus then for specialization to occur? Well, it's related to cell signaling. So stem cells, when they receive a particular signal, it's the signal to develop into a certain type of cell. Every cell has every gene in the genome. So with the cell signaling is able to activate specific genes and also silence other genes such that the cell differentiates into a specific type of cell. And just a reminder, these are the syllabus objectives we've covered.